Howdy, folks. Welcome back to the Overflow Podcast, where we're all about living in the overflow of God's presence and power in the everyday life. I'm Eli Austin, and I'm excited to be joined once again by my co-host, Wayne Sutton. Today's episode, we're diving into a powerful theme from Luke 15, lost and found. Jesus told us about a shepherd who left the 99 to find the one, a woman who swept her house to recover a coin, and a father who welcomed home a lost son. These aren't just stories about people far from God. They're reminders for us too. Sometimes we lose things like joy, peace, and even a sense of God's presence without realizing it. So today, we're asking some tough but necessary questions. What have you lost in your walk with God? And we are willing to search until you find it again. Stick with us as we dig deep into the heart of this message and explore what it looks like to move from loss to restoration in the kingdom. Brother, I'm going to throw it over to you to kick us off. I know for everybody out there, neither Wayne nor I were at the service on Sunday, so we're playing catch up. We're both traveling. I'm in Pennsylvania. Wayne was on doing some things on his end Sunday, so bear with us. Just had to throw that out there in full transparency mode, though.
That's right. So, yeah, and it's usually one of us have at least been there. So this was a unique week, but going back and listening to the message, I love the power. I'm gonna say this: I love the power of the message and the simplicity of the message.
Yes,
because it's kind of like the kingdom of God values the one who's lost. That alone is such a Selah, pause, sit on this moment.
Yeah.
The kingdom of God values. And I think we need to take that into the world today, because how many times do we lose friendships, relationships? We lose things, and sometimes we don't value it because it's lost. We go, well, meant to be, or whatever.
Exactly.
But what if we go, wait a minute, is this worth pursuing? Is this worth being intentional about? And I think that's so important. And I love how when Jesus he talks about leaving the 99 to go after the one. Jerry said 100 sheep, oh well, one's gone. But no, he doesn't see it that way.
Not how it exactly.
You're important, and if you're not here, he's seeking you. He's going after you.
100%.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty. I think that's the beauty of this message, and it sort of is a reminder as well, is that it's hard for us to comprehend that in the flesh and as humans. It's hard for us to comprehend how God would want to leave the rest of the group to go get the one, or to help that person to really to find themselves. Because we think about it for ourselves. If I lose something, well, I've got 99 other things that I got to worry about, right? So that's okay. I'm going to keep moving. So it's really hard for us to grab a hold of that, to understand that God is always there. He's always pursuing you. But it's about that point of reflection and saying, okay, well, what am I being intentional about, and what have I lost in my life? And I think that's sort of what Jerry is, and we're at this point too with the church and where we are, with the country. It's really a reflection point for us, and it's great because it gives us that opportunity, to your point, to dig into the kingdom's value system. It really allows us for that to resonate and say, okay, what is of value in the kingdom?
Well, when here's I talk about this a lot in my coaching. I mean, if you help somebody, if you hit somebody in a level of values, your decisions are easy. Mm-hmm. I value church and God and family. I don't have to make decisions. Should I do this or should I do that? About should I go to church, even though I miss Sunday? Should I serve Christ? And I value that. So exactly. Other decisions are made easily, or it kind of cascades down.
Absolutely.
So if your kingdom value is we truly treasure those who have walked away from the faith, or we truly treasure that which is lost, then our decision to go and pursue is instant. It's automatic. And I think this is very important because it kind of goes back to what Jerry was talking about, the finding the treasure in the dirt. You're intentional about finding that treasure. You'll be intentional when that one walks away, or that maybe it's not always a person that walks away, but your peace walks away, whatever it is.
And it's funny because it's almost like that value system creates your priorities for your life. Once you align with the right value system, to your point, the priorities fall into place. There is no more, what should I spend my time on? It just clicks and it feels right. And you're getting those, my mom calls them downloads from the Lord, right? You're getting a download because you are in alignment with the kingdom value system. So it maps your steps. There is no, should I do this or should I not? It's just your system kind of, once you have those values in place, you are able to walk. But I think to your point, it's also really important for us to think about what have we lost? Because I think oftentimes, we as humans, we have a tendency to, our conscience, our subconscious has a tendency to just sort of overwrite some things. If you lose something, well, you fill the gap with something else. So then the loss is not there.
Yeah.
There needs to be, say it all the time, intentional, but we have to be about what have we lost in our life. And to your point, maybe it's not a person. Maybe it's peace. Maybe it's joy. Is it God's presence? Are you working and living with that every single day? And if not, then I think it's important for you to take that step, because you've probably convinced yourself, right? You've convinced yourself, or your subconscious has convinced yourself that no, that's not lost. You just filled the gap with something else.
Yeah, true. It's where you talk about David prayed, restore the joy of my salvation. Well, the salvation wasn't lost, but the joy. And I think there's a lot of people here watching this. You are heaven bound, bought by the blood, and you're living though like you're going through hell. Maybe you are going through hell, but if you're going through hell, that means the joy isn't there. So Lord, restore the joy of my salvation.
Yes,
I've lost it.
Exactly.
And so he'll lead us and he'll guide us and he'll restore that joy. He is the great redeemer. I also like what Jerry mentioned about Samson. He lost the Lord's presence and didn't even know it. He's like, hey, okay, here we are again. You've tied me up again. Watch this, And then he had nothing. And so what have we lost that we don't even know because we're so busy just going through our daily activity and adapting to, okay, this is just what I am. This is who I am. It was really interesting. I heard a fitness, guru, influencer, coach, whatever, the other day. He said most people would have no clue how good they could feel because they've become accustomed to how they do feel.
Exactly.
And this is just normal. This hurts. I feel like this. I'm exhausted at 4 p.m. And that's their normal. But when you realize, no, that doesn't have to be normal, all of a sudden, wow. And I think it's here. We adapt to living without joy, peace, or hope.
Yep.
So when we get back into it, we're like, oh my goodness, this is the key.
Yeah, 100%. And it kind of takes me back to when I'm not saying that I ever left my faith, but when it really came back and you have that joy moment and you have that time at the altar and it hits you emotionally, it's like, that's what that emotional overload is it's your body, your soul, your spirit has been without that for so long that when it hits hard, and people are like, why am I so emotional? It's because you've not had that in so long. And now it's your spirit, you're coming back in alignment with the Lord and what you want to do and what you should be doing, and your spirit, that's really where that emotion comes from, in my opinion. I can remember that the first time that I truly went to the altar, I bawled like a baby. And I was like, what is going on? I had no idea why I was crying, but it's that moment of that was lost. That was not part of my life. And when it gets injected back into it, man, you really do. It's almost like a little bit of like the dopamine rush. You're like, you're flying once you get that back. But I think that that's really important because you have to recognize that something's lost in order to find it.
Sure. Yeah. And when you realize it's lost, sometimes we don't realize it until it's kind of like you really take a good look at the man or the woman in the mirror, and you really look at where you should be according to, the principles of Christ and the principles of the kingdom. But then we go back and how do you find it? And I love that, it was in Luke, the woman swept carefully until she found. And that was really, I love that. It was the intentionality, not passivity.
Yes.
I have to find this. So what do I need? Obviously we have the Holy Spirit, but I believe we have each other.
We do.
I believe that's something that's so important. If you've lost joy, you've lost hope, you've lost anything like that, go into somebody else in the body of Christ that you can trust and saying, hey, I need some help.
100%.
Help me find this lost coin. I've lost it. Help me find this peace. Help me find this direction.
I love how you said that, though, with, going to other people. I think oftentimes when we say we've lost something, it's, you do a lot of internal reflection, and then it's almost like a solo mission. And that's not what God intended.
Mm-mm.
When you take a look at, we even talked about like the definition of the church, it's people, it's the group of individuals. It's meant to be that way. And you're supposed to be able to lean on each other and to be there for each other, because it's never going to be easy. I mean, it says it in the Bible. It's not always going to be sunshine and rainbows. It's not what it is. So we have to have people. We have to have those people that are there with us as accountability partners, right? To help you say, hey, wait, you might not see it's lost, but I've seen this change in you. Is there something that's going on, right? So there's the accountability piece. There's a joy partner. There's the individual or the individuals that will help you and find joy in your life, and you have that together, right? So there's really a reason for us to do this together. It's not meant to be a solo mission. This is something for us to walk through with a group of individuals or with your church or whomever you trust. So I mean, for me, I love how you said that, because that is really, really important, particularly when you go through reflection. If you just do that and you only live that alone, it's really, really hard to take that step forward. And
yeah. And another good point from the sermon was the enemy fights against what's most valuable. Now I've heard it said there's never been a war over a garbage dump. It's always over this land has oil, or this, there's something valuable. And it's sad in the world today. We don't see a lot of things we see where we should go in there and bring healing, but if it doesn't have a monetary or political gain, a lot of times we don't see it. Mm-hmm. The enemy's the same way. If he's attacking your joy, it's because your joy has power. If he's attacking your finances, it's because maybe you've lost hold of your financial status. It's because the finances could be used for the kingdom of God. Mm-hmm. If what is being attacked is valuable, and I think that's one thing we need to recognize. If I'm feeling attacked in an area, then I must go, wow, God must have a lot for me to do in this, because the enemy's coming against me here. And so now I can fight, find those scriptures, find that person that'll pray with you, find the scriptures and fight with it and seek it. Seek and you shall find. It's a process sometimes.
What you said there is really, really important for me, because I feel like and maybe for others too, but when you go through this and you're going through it alone, it can be very, very difficult. But like there's I'm trying to get this out of my brain here, because it's sitting here. But give me a second, because I want to lean into this a little bit. There's a prioritization with, we talked about that. What are your value system? And I'm going back to, I was listening to another podcast, and it was, I'm going through this Ironman training. So, that's my focus. Right. And that's what, but he actually says, my priority is not training. My priority is being a man of God, being a husband, being, doing all these other things, but you can still have other priorities in life. So I guess where I'm trying to go with this is, I think it's really important that you do it with a group of individuals. You do it with whoever it is that you want to pray with. You having that accountability partner. They help to sort of set up, look, you're allowed to have other areas of interest, right? Jerry talks about that all the time. Like, it's not, and because those other areas of interest could be a door that God is opening for you to step in and share the gospel. That's
yes.
And I think that's sometimes we get so confused with, well, where should I spend my time? Well, it's like, well, what gift have you been given? Lean into that. And not just lean into the gift, but lean into the opportunity that God is presenting something to you to share the gospel. If you do all of that alone, I think sometimes it's very hard because you get so caught up in the next thing and the progress that you're making. But if you do it, I think with a group of individuals, you can really say, hey, look, this is a gift that I have. Help me see where I can make a difference. Help me see what maybe I don't have right now, and how I can regain what I lost in this area. Even though it's my gift, I may have lost something in that space.
Yeah. And I think that's and back to your point, when you have a group of individuals can inspire you. You share testimonies, but also it can make you realize, okay, if this person got a breakthrough, I can get a breakthrough.
Yes.
Or if this person is not perfect and they're still being used by God, then maybe I can be used by God in my imperfection.
That's what it's all about. And that's why I love this as a group, because it does really allow you to see that. We have just such a false sense of reality with everything you see through your screen is picture perfect. It's the best thing ever. It's the most money, the best life, whatever it is. All of that's a facade anyway. And we get so, when you do this solo, you get so stuck in that pursuit of what isn't really attainable. And it's not only attainable, it's not God's purpose and intention for your life. And I think as you continue to make progress, the one thing that I'm finding, at least, and it's happening in my life, is the more progress that you make, the stronger that you get in your walk, in your faith walk, the stronger the attacks from the enemy are. It's undeniable. And Jerry says it all the time. There's always an assignment against the assignment. But as you get stronger, as you sort of regain territory, in your life, whether it's something that you lost, joy, peace, God's presence, as you start to regain those, you need to also be prepared, because the assignment's going to come back against you, and it's going to come back against you probably even stronger than it was before.
Yeah. When there's an assignment against the assignment, which is one of the things that Jerry said, I'll never forget. There's also, that is when you do need those people. And if we go back to even what's happening in the country, we go back to Charlie Kirk, and there was an assignment against his assignment.
Yes.
And ultimately, sadly, it cost him his life. But because of the community, the intentionality he had to build a community, now we're seeing We Are Charlie Kirk everywhere. These people are like, no, I identify, and what was lost in him has stirred up.
Yes.
And whether you like his movement or don't like his movement, irrelevant. The reality is his intentionality and is now sparking forth hope and encouragement and anger and other things there. But it's really, what was lost was a life. But what's been found is many lives that are saying, we're going to stand as evangelists for Jesus Christ and all areas of our life.
Yes.
And so restoration is not only personal, it is that community. And I think that's what's so good. What does God value? What am I missing? And I think for some people, and this is really something to think about, it could have been something that God instilled within you before birth. I knew you before I formed you.
Yeah.
But it's never been awakened. You lost it even as a child, I think. I'll give you a quick example. We were listening to my daughter sing the other day, and they're taking vocal lessons, and it's just, I love it. And I even thought, I wonder if I could sing. I don't know, because I keep it pretty low. At church, I just got, but I do remember as a child, one person going, "Wow, you can't sing," just making fun as a kid. And I held on to that identity, and I've never sung publicly, because something was lost, something was stolen exactly as a kid. So how many of you watching this, has somebody said, "Oh, you can't sing, you can't speak, you can't win souls, you can't do this," and what is lost is part of your reality that was stolen, lost.
Yes.
But you need to, wait a minute, what can I do, God? what do you want from me?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And when it comes back, the one thing that Jerry did touch on is that the church needs to learn to celebrate. When you find that and it's restored, we have to take a moment to celebrate, because it's, those little wins are very important. Again, it gets just the chaos of the world. We have a tendency to go, 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 go. It's always the next thing. But if we take a moment to celebrate those, call them wins, we even talk about it in business, celebrate the small wins, because multiple small wins lead to a huge win. So if each of us celebrate each other, the church starts to have an awakening. That bleeds out from just the church into your secular life, bleeds out into your friends, your families, your colleagues, your peers, your neighbors, strangers. You start to walk with this sense of power. You walking with kingdom power because God has restored something in your life, and it almost becomes an aura, like an aura around you. And as you celebrate those, and I think that's really important, because we talked about your subconscious. Sometimes when you lose things, your subconscious has a way of burying it and saying, you didn't really lose something, we'll fill it with something else. So now when we celebrate, we make it a point for our subconscious to say, hey, look, no, this is a win. This is a win. And I just think that that's really, really important, that we have to celebrate that. As God restores things in our lives, we have to take a moment to recognize that restoration.
And I think the wins are so important. We're teaching on miracles. So a little plug for our Wednesday night. But we're seeing miracles. And so when we celebrate, somebody that, had a healing in their shoulder, we celebrate somebody that had healing in my gut. We celebrate these moments. What's so important is we're intentional, because I think that celebration is worship. Yeah, yes. We want to inspire other peoples. We want to build up testimonies. Sure. We want to build up the faith of others. But just saying, hey, let me tell you what God did for me, is a way of worshiping him. And he's worthy of that.
And Jerry always says, you are the best testimonial. Your life is the best testimonial. So when if you're at a loss sometimes for, well, what am I supposed to say? Look at your life. Look what God's done in your life. You are a walking testimonial. So, I think for us as a church, we have to kind of take a second to look at what has been lost and how can you find it. And I think the other thing is making sure that we share testimonials, that we share those wins, and that we celebrate those together.
Yeah.
A couple things that I want to plug before we wrap up. We have started Wednesday community dinners. Tomorrow is barbecue, baked beans, and coleslaw. Now, I know RSVP is very, very tight. We've got a very tight window to get RSVP, but I want to say it because it's important that we're going to continue to do this. It's not just this coming Wednesday, but this is something that we're going to celebrate and do every Wednesday. All are invited, not just Seaside community. So I encourage you to come out, get some good food, get some good fellowship, meet some new people, and then stick around for Bible study. You're going to get to hear from Wayne, where we are on an awesome, awesome series about activating miracles in your life. I think it's really important for where we are in today's world to understand that miracles are real. They do happen. We have to have an understanding of how to activate those in our lives. So, shameless plug for all those that are out there. Join us tomorrow for community dinner. And the last thing that I'm going to ask for is I'm not going to be at Bible study this Wednesday. So I asked Wayne, you write my name down on the prayer list, because I am the officiant for my brother's wedding this weekend. And it's finally dawning on me about how many people I'm going to be in front of. So any support, prayers, I'll take them all. They're very welcomed. So we had to throw that out there as well. I'll put my name down on the prayer list because I know it's come Saturday, the stress is going to just start rolling in.
Yeah. You're going to be fine, brother. You're going to be fine.
Well, I appreciate you all tuning in for another episode. It really is, it's important for us to do this, and we love to share. So I hope this is something that, stirred in you, and it's maybe a reminder for what you've misplaced in your spiritual walk, or an encouragement to keep searching until it's restored. Remember, Jesus values the one. He values what's lost, and when it's found, heaven rejoices. If this encouraged you, share it with a friend, share it with a family member. And as always, stay rooted, stay surrendered, and keep living in the overflow of God's presence and power in everyday life. Until next time, stay blessed. We'll catch y'all.